Hello, it's Kevin here. Video time again. So this is our final test from Cambridge 8, yeah? So we've done CAM 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, blah, 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 blah. Now down to Cambridge 8, and we've done test 1, 2, 3, and this should be, is this test number 4? Test number 4. This is the final one before moving on to Cambridge number 7. So, goods transported in the UK. So we can see we've got a line graph here. Quantity of goods transported in the UK. We've got x-axis millions of tons, y-axis for time period. 4 categories: road, water, rail and pipeline. Okay, so we're going to take a look at those. First things first though, as always, fair use, so don't complain. So back to the plot. Now, I've got my sample and I've got 5 responses from my Telegram group. So let's have a look at mine first. Now this is a little bit long, 230 words, but mainly because there's a lot of detail. There's a lot of information and tonnage, but we'll talk about that. So first things first, sentence 1, pretty straightforward. Just paraphrase that a little. Quantities of goods transported in the UK. Amount of goods transported by road, rail, water and pipeline across the UK. So you don't need to spend a lot of time there. Overview, pretty easy for this one. Well, what's the biggest, what's the smallest, etc. Well, road is biggest, followed by water, rail and pipeline. But we can see that out of the 4, 1, 2, 3 have increased across the period, but rail does not. So pretty straightforward in terms of your key features. Transport by road was easily the largest means, the lowest. So what's the biggest, what's the smallest? Interestingly, we've got 3 increased and 1 that didn't change. That's it, pretty straightforward. So what I did here, this was like what? Road, water and rail, making comparisons between water and rail, because we can see, we can compare them here. Yeah, so you've got road, not much to compare that with, but we can compare water and rail because they started at a similar point of tonnage, and then in 1978 a bit of a variance. One rose and the other fluctuated before coming back to its original starting point. So I thought that was a logical way to group the information, okay, because you need a logical approach to this. Matter of fact, when we look at some of the samples, you will see they don't, some of them, it's not very logical, you know. Either move from the largest to the smallest, which will be the obvious one, can, you know, in this particular case. What can you group? What can't you? So I'm not going to read it all out. You can read it for yourself. But road transport, that's a sentence starting with 70 million tons, finishing at 100 tons. Oops, put in that. There we go. So water and rail, while shipping the same amount of goods initially, divergent paths, 60, rail transport, okay. Then the outlier, the smallest, the lowest, pipeline. Lowest in terms of volume overall, but increase in tonnage in itself. Figures, data, figures and data. So I thought that was a logical way to group the information. I couldn't really make this any shorter, not as such, because I did want to try and get all of the data there. So that one's mine. I'll leave that there for a bit. You can pause here and take a look at it. Now, the ones for review. So we've got 5 here. Now I've already added some comments. So again, I won't read it all out. So, introduction, okay. The only thing here, this overview, apart from that grammatical mistake there, it doesn't really tell us what the key features are. Now, I'm not going to show you the criteria again. I've shown it to you on several occasions, but for task response, you need to, task achievement for writing task 1, I should say. You must clearly identify, label the key trends or features for a good overview score. That's how it works. So what's the biggest? What's the smallest? Okay, so that doesn't quite work there. Now, are you sure it's drastically as an adverb, or do you mean dramatically or significantly? So if something is drastic, we don't usually use it in quite that way. And we can see the logic here. So we've got water. Why start with water? Why would you start there? Surely, you know, biggest, next biggest, next biggest, etc. So that's not very logical interpretation there. So the line chart information, okay. Now, the overview was at the bottom, so I moved it up to the top. And this is 240 forward, so it's even longer than mine. So I put the overview at the top, right? So road, the biggest, pipeline, the smallest. All of them had an upward trend, except for rail, because it finishes, was it rail here? It finishes at 40. More or less, it more or less finishes, I mean, maybe it's a few more, but more or less start point and end point in terms of tonnage are the same. So 40 million tons water, and so again, kind of here, why does it start with water and rail? Wouldn't it be more logical to begin with what's the biggest, then move down, or conversely, what's the smallest and move up? That would be more logical than jumping up and down. So water and rail, then you've got this third thing, decrease sword, the latter. So this is very confusing. So you've got water and rail compared here. I mean, it does say make comparisons if relevant. Then you've got road here. So you've got these two. So you've got the second and third. Then you've got the biggest. Then you've got the smallest. Then you've got the biggest again. So that doesn't really make a lot of sense in terms of logic. You need a progression to get a good coherence and cohesion score, or cohesion and coherence score. Now, I think you mean transported, not the same as transferred. Okay, gradual gross decreasing. So right, this. So you've got roads, the biggest. Okay, having the same quantity at the beginning. There's a gradual gross about water. What does that mean? So that doesn't really work. If the reader examiner has got to ask, "What are you talking about?" then it's not really worked. I don't think so. Road remains on top. Okay, I'm not going to read it all out. And you've got this, some confusion, similar negligible fluctuation, slightly increasing trend. You've got all the figures and data. I mean, you have to interpret it. I mean, maybe it's not it's not entirely accurate, 100%, but you can still kind of work out. I mean, like what? That's going to be like 10. That's going to be about 5. Yeah, that's about 5. That's approximately 40. That's probably approximately kind of 70. So you can put some figures in. Yeah. Opposite trends by the time. Anyway, so again, that's a bit confusing for the reader. Now, where does it say that? It doesn't say. It just says goods transported. What's it say? Exactly, goods transported. There's nothing here that I can see about where they come from, these particular goods. Okay. Road, increase, pipeline, okay. But you could have said like all three, apart from that one, showed increase. Then you've got roads, small drop, both sharply, okay. So you've got roads, then water, pipeline, then you've got, so again, right, so you've got the biggest, then you've got, was it, water's the second biggest, yeah, then rail and pipeline. So you've got roads, then you've got water, okay, so you've got first and second, then you've got the fourth smallest, and then you've got the third. So how does that make sense? And you could compare rail and water, as I said, because they start off on similar paths before they diverge. Okay, and this should be the final one. This is going to be a short video. Much, many, countable, uncountable were transported. Increased, rail, okay, but what's the biggest? What's the smallest? Okay, so you've got 3 increased, 1 remained the same, but still, what's the biggest? What's the smallest? Get those key features in. Okay. Road, sword, experience, fluctuating trend, and then okay, that's road, water, and rail. Okay, that's now this is more logical. This is more or less how I approached it. So road, water, and rail. Compare those two, and pipeline at the end. It's a little bit short, 183 words. There's a lot of information there. There's quite a lot of data, you know. So that was mine. I'll just put that back there. Again, you can pause it and read it. So you need a logical progression. Okay, so introduction is pretty easy. All these are pretty good. Well, not too bad, right? That's pretty easy, yeah? Just do a bit of paraphrasing, but as always, yeah, not everyone gets the key trends and features. If you don't get that, your task achievement score is going to be reduced. If you don't have a clear overview, clearly identify, highlight key trends and features, like I keep saying every time. So most of these, the introduction is good. Not all the overviews work. And then you need that logical progression. You know, largest to the smallest, smallest to the largest. Group those which can be grouped and compared. I mean, here, logical way, would that be, you know, first, second, third, fourth? Why not do it in that way? Okay, so not too bad, but a bit of work still for some of you to do. So it's pretty short for today, but hope that helps. Next task was going to be from Cambridge number 7. I'll be posting that in the group. If you're watching on YouTube, links below. If you're watching anywhere else, links will be somewhere else. I don't know. Anyway, hope that helps. See you next time. Bye for now.